Hello and welcome to this Tales from the Hut and Hangar Museum Guide about the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm Museum at Yeovilton, Somerset, England. This is just an hour's drive from my house and I've visited a couple of times, but not for many years. I will say I'm a bit like an excited dog getting out of a car at the park. Rather than head for a tree, I'm here for the aircraft. I like the displays and stuff to read, but I normally go back to them after I've looked around the aircraft first. So this visit focuses on the aircraft, but there's a lot more to see and do than I posted in this video. I will provide some basic facts, and that's regarding the Royal Navy and the Fleet Air Arm, as we do a whiz round tour. When you go in, there is a gift shop and there is a restaurant also on site. So the first aircraft is a short S-27 replica. This was used as a trainer and an experimental aircraft for the Royal Navy, and this type of aircraft was used to make the first takeoff from a ramp from a moving ship in 1912. Sopwith Baby was a reconnaissance and bomber floatplane that was operated by many countries. And it's fitted here with rockets, and no, they're not an early version of JATO. They were used against zeppelins and observation balloons. Also in the hall is one of my favourite aircraft, the Supermarine Walrus, and I'll talk about that more shortly. And also there's a nice selection of helicopters, a Dragonfly, a Sea King and a couple of Wessexes. Western Sea King HAS-6, and this is X-Ray Victor 663. Half of it's painted in RAF Rescue colours and the other side in the Royal Navy's. And it's nice you can go on this aircraft and have a look. The Sea King is a British licensed version of the American Sikorsky 61 and was built by Western Helicopters here in Somerset, the county of this museum's location. The very capable Sea King served from 1969 to 2018 with the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force. It was out in the Falklands, Gulf, Bosnia, Iraq and Afghan wars. Used for search and rescue, as this one is here, the Sea King was also adapted to meet the Royal Navy's requirement for a ship-based, airborne, early warning platform. 334 were built and some are still in service around the world today. Westland Wessex HU-5 X-Ray Tango 765 and Wessex HAS-3 X-Ray Papa 142 called Humphrey are both a couple of Falkland veterans. And the Wessex is a British-built turbine development of the Sikorsky H-34. The Wessex served with the RAF and Royal Navy for many years in many variations and tasks from 1961 until 2003. Now this is one of my favourite amphibious aircraft, the Supermarine Walrus, or it is affectionately known as the Shagbat or in some cases the Steam Pigeon. It provided excellent service in search and rescue and observation. It rescued many downed aircrew throughout the war. And like the Swordfish, they were being scoffed at for being biplanes, but they provided their worth. It was operated by the Royal Navy and Air Force and in military service with Argentina, Australia, Canada, Egypt, France, Ireland, New Zealand and Turkey. A little walrus story for you. Irish Air Corps pilot Alan Thornton was bored of operating in Shannon in Ireland during the war and wanted some action. He thought siding with the Germans would help the Republican cause, so in 1941 he nicked the Walrus and 3 other like-minded people and headed to occupied Jersey. And on his way the adventure was rumbled and the Walrus was escorted to RAF St Eville in Cornwall. And this is that very aircraft. There you go, quite a story. And I've put a link in the description of this episode for the full story of this Walrus's adventure. And the other good bit of news is a Walrus has been restored to flight and I can't wait to see that. Fairey Swordfish N1854, and this is the prototype and first production Mark 1 and is the last survivor of its kind. A nice looking aircraft I think, based on the Fairey battle, and in the mid-30s they needed a newer fighter bomber. A 2-man crew was decided to help navigation at sea. It had some good range for sea operations. It entered service in 1940. It was good against bombers but did not fare well against much faster fighters. It did evolve and got more Merlin grunt and a better range, and it was used in Europe and the Far East. It was also an adequate night fighter and trainer observation aircraft until the end of the war, and it was well liked by its pilots, and 600 were built. The Grumman Martlet was praised by famous test pilot Eric Winkle Brown as amongst one of the best shipborne aircraft ever created, and amazingly around 1,200 were used by the Fleet Air Arm throughout the war. And the Vought Corsair, a staggering 2012, was supplied to the United Kingdom. De Havilland Sea Vampire 1, and this is the prototype number 3. 3,268 variants of the Vampire were built, a stunning and well-liked aircraft by many pilots to replace another beautiful aircraft in Royal Navy service, the De Havilland Sea Hornet. ILM-2 MiG-15, representing the Korean War at the museum. Hawker Sea Fury FB-11 WJ231, a beast of an aircraft, very manoeuvrable and capable of 400 knots, and it could pack a punch. The Sea Fury fighter bomber first entered Fleet Air Arm service in 1947. It was also operated by countries including Australia, Burma, Canada, Cuba, Egypt, West Germany, Iraq and Pakistan. Sea Furies did hold their own even during the Korean War against MiG-15 jets. 864 of this wonderful aircraft were built. The Grumman Hellcat. The British Fleet Air Arm received 1,263 under the World War II Lend-Lease Acts. And here's a selection of classic British aviation grunt. The Harvard, as the British called it, was the North American T6 Texan. It was a pilot favourite and used for training and help cut the teeth before moving on to jets of all types, and a lovely distinctive sound from its prop. Fairey Swordfish 2. I think it could have been displayed better than propped up here. A clip will follow the only swordfish flying, and this was an air show I was involved in organising, and another one is currently being restored for flying condition.
As I say, this is the only aircraft flying in the world, the only swordfish in the world right now. Open cockpit with a crew of 3, one pilot, one observer or navigator, and one tail gunner. These aircraft were the mainstay of the Battle of the Atlantic and the Russian convoys. And if you can imagine flying an open cockpit in January on the way to Russia, you get some idea of what it was like. Aircrew average age was 18 or 19. Won the Battle of the Atlantic. And this particular aircraft was in Liverpool months ago, celebrating the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic. For those that know your history, the Swordfish took part in the attack at Bismarck in 1940, and in 2 days of continuous attacks, not one aircraft was shot down. 2 reasons for that. One, it goes too slow. The German guns were firing ahead all the time. And secondly, it's made of canvas. Armour-piercing shells went straight through. A torpedo from a Swordfish which crippled the Bismarck, hit her rudder. She could then no longer turn, and the Navy moved in to sink her the following day. There she goes. As I say, you won't see that anywhere else in the world today.
The Supermarine Seafire F-17, 2,646 were built of this naval version of the iconic Supermarine Spitfire. Westland Wyvern, more about that in a bit. Supermarine Attacker F-1, it was the first jet fighter to enter operational service with the Fleet Air Arm in 1951 until 1954. The Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve operated them until 1957. More capable aircraft replaced them like the Seahawk and Meteor. 182 plus 3 prototypes were built. De Havilland Sea Vixen FAW-2, 151 of all types of this fighter were built from 1959 until 1972. Blackburn Buccaneer, a long-serving strike aircraft used by the British Armed Forces from 1962 to 1994. 211 were built. British Aerospace Sea Harrier FA-2, X-Ray Zulu 499. What more can you say about the Harrier, an amazing aircraft that proved its worth during the Falklands War? I still think it would be handy, even now, along with the flashy new high-tech Lightnings that replaced them in British service. McDonnell Douglas FG-1. A total of 185 F4 Phantom variants were produced and operated by the United Kingdom between 1968 and 1992. The Westland Wyvern TF-1, what a magnificent looking beast and work of art, but in reality it was not very good. This single-seat carrier-based multi-strike aircraft came into service in 1953 after 7 long years of troubled development. All Wyverns were withdrawn from service in 1958. While in service and testing there were 68 accidents, 39 were lost and there were 13 fatalities. BAC 221 WG774. This aircraft was built for part of the Concorde program to explore high-speed characteristics of the Delta wing. And the Hawker Siddeley P1127, and this is the start of the wonderful development of the Kestrel, Harrier and Sea Harrier. And Concorde, and no need to go into its story, as you're likely watching this video as an aviation geek or an anorak in British terminology. I will cover the history of this aircraft, Golf Bravo Sierra Sierra Tango, construction 002. Sierra Tango was built by BAC at Filton, Bristol, England, and she first flew on the 9th of April 1969 from Filton to RAF Fairford, Gloucestershire. The pilot was BAC's chief test pilot Brian Shrubshaw, who made a faultless landing despite the aircraft's altimeters failing to function, and this is the first flight of a UK prototype Concorde. It would be based there for development and testing programs until it was replaced by the first pre-production airframes. In June 1969, together with the French prototype, Sierra Tango visited the Paris Air Show to make its first public appearance. September the 1st, 1970, Sierra Tango appears at the Farnborough Air Show. September the 13th, 1970, Sierra Tango lands at Heathrow Airport for the first time. November the 12th, 1970, Sierra Tango achieves Mach 2 for the first time. January the 6th, 1971, the French prototype Foxtrot Whiskey Tango Sierra Sierra and the first pre-production aircraft Golf Alpha X-Ray Delta November joined Sierra Tango for a unique parade at RAF Fairford. Then in April 1972, on the 22nd, the aircraft's first appearance in Germany was made. It is a visit to the Hanover Air Show. Then on June the 2nd, 1972, Sierra Tango departs from Fairford on a 12-country, 45,000-mile sales tour of the Far East and Australia. On September the 4th, 1972, a week at Farnborough Air Show with promotional flights around the country designed to build public support. Then in January the 22nd, 1973, Sierra Tango leaves RAF Fairford for Johannesburg in order to complete a series of hot and high performance trials. July the 9th, 1973, temperature and altitude trials started in Madrid. And finally on March the 4th, 1976, it was delivered to its final resting place here at Yeovilton Air Museum, and eventually the London Science Museum purchased Sierra Tango for the nation. Golf Bravo Sierra Sierra Tango operated total flights 438, hours flown 836, landings 438, supersonic flights 196, supersonic hours 173 hours 26 minutes. I hope you enjoyed that little flip round the museum. Please do make a visit if you're in the UK or live here. It's well worth it. There's so much more to see than what I actually put up on this video. So please like, subscribe, share, drop in a comment, and thanks very much for watching.